Hello and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and together with my friend Danielle, we clean people's homes for free. In today's video, it will just be myself cleaning as unfortunately Danielle was unable to make it as she didn't have any childcare. I have made today's video slightly longer as we had a lot of requests to slow the speed of the videos as I was speeding it up too much. I mentioned previously in a video that when I watch videos on YouTube, I always adjust the speed so that it's twice as fast. So then when I'm making my own videos, it's hard for me to gauge at what speed other people would like to watch at because I'm so used to watching everything on high speed. However, the first 20 minutes of this video is pretty much just me folding laundry, because there is so much of it, and that is what the majority of this clean consisted of. Either you can skip ahead, or if you want to hear the resident's story and chat with me, then why don't you fold your own laundry alongside me, or if there's a task you've been putting off that will actually only take you about 20 minutes, go ahead and do that while you're watching. When I'm making these videos, we tend to do house cleans on a Wednesday, and then I will spend days or however long it is editing the video because I never kind of do it in one sitting. I don't sit down and edit the video all at once, and this is because I tend to hyper focus on things, and when I do all the editing at once, then when I try and go to sleep and stuff, I can't actually go to sleep because I'm just thinking about cleaning and editing cleaning videos, and then when I do fall asleep I have very active dreams that I always remember, and I tend to be dreaming of cleaning and editing videos, so I try to spread it out over a few days so that I'm not in that kind of intensive zone. I don't know if that makes sense to a lot of people. But anyway, so I edit the videos over a few days and then I do the voiceover. Because I have 4 children, I have to try and find a quiet moment to do the voiceover. And it's the summer holidays now, so 3 of my children are at home all of the time, pretty much. And my youngest, she is still going to a childminder a few days a week just to give me that little bit of a break, or where I can do things with the older children that might not be possible with the younger one around. For example, playing board games or going out somewhere. Today is a day when my youngest is at the childminder. It's a Friday that I'm recording this, and so obviously she'll be home at the weekend, so this is kind of my last chance to record this voiceover before Sunday. And honestly, I'm struggling to focus. I have sat down to do this about 3 times already today, and each time I'm getting distracted by something, or I'm adding more to my notes because I did actually write notes today. So this voiceover might be a little bit all over the place. Just know that I am trying. This house clean took just under 4 hours, and originally I would have liked to have done the whole house. However, I seriously underestimated how much laundry this was. And when we go into somebody's house, we always ask, what are the priority areas? Because I might walk into a room and think, okay, that's the messiest thing, that's what I'm going to tidy. Or I might walk into a house and think, right, well, the bathroom's a priority or the kitchen's a priority. But when in actual fact, I don't live in that house, and so it's better to ask the resident what it is that they struggle with the most, or what would be the most helpful for them for me to do. So in this case, when I asked the resident, she told me that it would be really helpful if I could sort out this laundry into piles of categories. So jammies, trousers, tops, bedding, that kind of thing. So that's what I started with, and it honestly took about 2 hours to do, which then did not leave much time for me to get everything else done. And so even though we tend to just do one-off cleans in these homes so that we can help as many people as possible, I did agree with the resident that we would come back to this house in a few weeks' time to finish the rest of the rooms. So in this video, it will be this room that I'm in right now, as well as the living room. However, not all of the living room, just kind of the sofa area, because that was the main priority, because that's what she wanted me to move on to next. And then in a couple of weeks' time, myself and Danielle will come back to this property. We will do a deeper clean of the living room, and we will tackle the kitchen and the bathroom. So this is only part one of this house, but you will have to wait a few weeks for part two. And obviously in the meantime, there will be other videos posted. There is actually only one woman living in this property, and so as you can see, this is a lot of clothing and bedding and towels and things for one person. So I did recommend to the resident that she has a bit of a declutter if she's able to, as she could probably get rid of at least 75% of this stuff and still have plenty. So I did say that when we come back, we could bring storage boxes with us and help her go through them, as at the moment this room is where she keeps everything because she literally has no storage anywhere else. Obviously that is just my recommendation though. This is not my house, these are not my belongings, and I would never force somebody to get rid of their own things. I was about halfway through at this point, and here is me just regretting my life choices. I'm very much a visual cleaner, so in my own home I will always prioritise tasks that you can see the biggest difference. So for example, floors, I'll clean and pick up everything off the floors and clean them because I always think that makes a room look much tidier. Or if there is lots of dishes, I'll do them. So then I don't really often get to the nitty-gritty things like cleaning skirting boards or deep cleaning the oven, that kind of thing. Like the cleaning part I don't tend to get to because I use all my energy just doing the tidying parts because I need to see those results. I'm the kind of person that if I write a list of jobs to do, if I do something that's not on the list, I will then add it to the list and cross it off just so I get that little dopamine boost. So standing here and folding laundry for 2 hours really was difficult for me because it isn't a job that you can see like big results, and also it's such a repetitive task, which I generally don't mind repetitive tasks. However, I don't know what it is about laundry, I just really don't like folding clothes. I spent about 3 minutes trying to figure out what on earth this item of clothing was. I couldn't figure out if it was a skirt, if it was a dress, if it was a top. Eventually I figured out that it was a top, and so that's the pile that it went into. But at this point I had spent so long trying to figure out what it was, I was ready just to make its own pile. I don't think I've actually said this in any of my other videos. However, we work in the Fife area of Scotland and we want to help as many people as possible. So if you are struggling or you know of somebody who is in need of our help, please do reach out to us. Ironically, we've had quite a few people who have come over from MAC and Midwest Magic Cleaning, but who actually have said that they live in our area. And I just think that's so amazing that a cleaner from across the world has shouted us out and sent people from literally the same town as us to our videos. And it's just funny that that's the way they found us. So obviously we need to get a little bit better at advertising our services in our area. But yeah, if you are in our area and you would like some help, we have our email address linked on our description page. And so please do reach out to us. And just while I am mentioning Mac, I would once again like to thank both Mac and Bonnie at A Beautiful Mess for both of them shouting us out. We have now reached monetization stage. We have been accepted into the YouTube Partner Program, and so now every view of our videos counts towards making money, which for the time being, all of the money will be going straight back into this business and will be used to help us do these free cleans, be used for cleaning products, rubbish uplifts, for buying items residents might need and things. And all of this is only possible thanks to everybody who is viewing our videos and supporting us. So we just want to give a great big thank you. Watching our videos is the best way that you can support us. However, we have had requests from people of how they could support us further, and so at the moment we are looking into adding a donation link such as PayPal or Buy Me a Coffee, but we haven't quite set that up yet. So in the meantime, we have added an Amazon wish list, which just has some cleaning products or tools on there that would help us with these free cleans. We don't expect anybody to buy from this list. This is simply if you did want to support us further. It's obviously not an obligation. Watching our videos is more than enough, so please only buy from the wish list if it's something that you can afford to do and wish to do. The link for that is in our bio and in the description for this video. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the resident's story, and before I do that, I just want to make clear that we only ever share information that we have express permission to share. We would never give out information about a resident that we've been told in confidence or that they simply don't want shared with everybody. This resident was quite eager to share her story with the world in the hopes that it would raise awareness and, in result of that, garner additional support for these types of situations, as at the moment there really isn't very much support out there for somebody in her position. I am reading from my notes a little bit here and they're kind of all over the place, so just bear with me. So this resident is only 50 years old and she has many health issues and is currently housebound with limited mobility. She used to be very house proud and lived with her husband of 11 years and cared for her own children and her husband's children from a previous relationship. So I think there was 5 children altogether, and sadly her husband passed away. Around 1 year after her husband died, she ended up in hospital because she was very unwell and the doctors did not know what was wrong with her. She suffered from medical neglect. She was not cared for properly, and it wasn't until she had gotten down to about 6 stone because she was unable to eat or drink or hold anything down, and she started physically throwing up blood, that the doctors all rushed in and took action and realised that what was going on was that she actually had internal bleeding as well as a brain aneurysm. She was put into a coma for 7 weeks and her spleen was also removed. In this time as well, they believe that she possibly suffered from mini strokes, which has resulted in limited use of the left side of her body. And as of now, she also has other health conditions such as a blood clot on the lung and cysts on her kidneys. She has PTSD from all the medical trauma because she was in the hospital for around 7 months with all of this going on. And due to the medical neglect, in this country we have the NHS, and I personally am so grateful for the NHS because my son has a health condition that if we didn't have the NHS, I would not be able to afford his treatments. However, while we are lucky to have the NHS, it does mean that in cases such as this residence, where there has been medical neglect, we are very reluctant to sue or bring charges against them, because then that would just cause further strain on the NHS, who are already overstretched. However, it does mean then that in this case there is no compensation for this resident who has obviously suffered so much, and there also just isn't any support out there for her. She is unable to care for the home completely by herself due to her medical issues, and she gets no help from social services. She doesn't even get physiotherapy for the problems that she has with her mobility and her left side of her body. So she wanted me to share her story, and in the hopes that the more people that put their stories out there, the more the government can see that more needs to be done to help these people in these situations, because at the moment it's just so sad that they are having to struggle on their own. I've pretty much gotten through all of the notes that I made now for doing the voiceover of this video. I didn't actually realise how quickly I would get through that, and so I'm only about halfway through the video and honestly don't know what else to talk about. However, I really love reading all the comments that you guys post, and I've already mentioned that I really hate folding laundry. What jobs is it that you hate doing around your house? Please let me know in the comments. For the majority of the rest of this video, I'm just going to leave in the original audio. However, I will chip in occasionally if something interesting happens or I think of anything else to say. At this point, I had pretty much finished folding all of the laundry, thank God. And so I'm just kind of organising things, and I'm going to start picking rubbish up off the floor. There was a little pile of boxes and belongings down the side of the tumble dryer that I wanted to try and organise a little bit better. I found rolls of toilet roll in literally every room of this house, and every time I found a roll, I thought to myself, I need to tell the resident that she definitely has enough toilet roll now and not to buy any more. And as I'm watching this recording, I'm realizing that I didn't actually tell her that, so that's something I'm going to have to mention when I return to the property. After I'd folded the laundry, I found some more hanging on this door, and as I was folding this sheet up, I pretty much completely folded and then realised that there was something inside of it, and then I have to unfold it and get that out and then refold it. Also, I don't think I actually mentioned previously, I don't have a set way of folding things. I've been told several times I fold towels wrong, and honestly, I've been shown so many times how to do it the correct way, the more aesthetically pleasing way, and it just does not stick with me. Like, I cannot fold towels correctly. So here I am just doing the dusting now. You can't really tell on the camera, but there were so many spider webs on the ceiling. However, my duster actually broke because it's an extendable one, and so I can't extend it as far as it goes. And I am only 5'3", so I'm quite short, and I couldn't really reach the highest points of the room. Here I'm just using Azoflora multi-purpose spray, and I was attacked by a spider as I was doing this. That's why you see me kind of flipping the green cloth around. Not sure if the spider was actually alive or if it was just a dead spider that fell as I was cleaning, but I didn't see it, and thankfully it was only about 1/10 of the size of the one that was in the last video, so that's why I didn't scream this time. Now we're moving on to the living area, and I've mentioned previously I have a skin condition and my hands were quite sore today, so I just thought I'd kind of show you a little bit of like how bad my hands can get. I'm not sure how clear that is on the cameras, but on the joints of my fingers that skin is actually like red raw and split open. So that was me just putting some hand cream on, and that was a bit of an oversight because then trying to get those gloves on straight after was quite difficult. Anyway, so I start in this room by removing dishes into the kitchen and clearing off this unit. The camera is set quite far back at the moment, so you don't really get to see how grimy this unit was, but it was also covered in strands of tobacco, which was quite difficult to clean. So I start by removing everything and binning any rubbish, organising little categories, and then go in again just with a Zoflora multi-purpose spray and a damp microfiber cloth, as well as a dry microfiber cloth for cleaning. And I think when I was doing the bottom layer of this unit, I wasn't managing to scrub off the dirt, so I then went and got a little scourer as well. When I'm editing the footage, I do tend to try and cut out the parts where I'm leaving the room or like rinsing the cloth and things, so it might often look like I'm just using one cloth for a long time, but I do actually leave and rinse it and things like that. As in my last video when I was working alone and I was doing organising, my process here is just to go through everything and collect like items together, get rid of any rubbish, clean any areas underneath the belongings, and then to put everything back in a more orderly fashion. So my focus in this room was the sofa because that is obviously the part of the room that the resident is using the most. And when I asked about priority areas, this was a priority area for her. So we don't really move on to anywhere else in the room in this video as I was very limited for time. So I did the room with all the clothes, I did kind of this section of the living room, and that will be all for this video. However, I do think the before and after photos at the end are still quite satisfying, but I don't know if that's just because I know how much work I put into it. Also, I haven't quite figured out the blurring technique in video editing, which is why you can see some grey boxes on the screen. I've just covered up a couple of photographs on the wall that could be identifying, and then also on the sofa I've just been putting a pile of paperwork, and so I didn't really want to have anything showing that could have like the residence details on it, which is why those grey boxes are on the screen. Pretty much everything on that sofa was covered in tobacco. I think a pouch must have spilled out and covered everything. So when I was organising everything, I was kind of having to shake it off into the bin to get rid of the tobacco. As well as you can see in the left hand corner there, there's more toilet roll. Underneath this sofa cushion there were several smaller cushions, and so I did remove them. However, I did check with the resident and found out that those cushions were under there deliberately to try and raise the seat slightly for her to help with her mobility. So after I finished cleaning everything and clearing that area, I did put those cushions back so that the seat is still as elevated as it was before I started. Here you see me picking up an item that I did not know what it was. I wasn't sure if it was some sort of medical related item, so I had to go and check with the resident and she told me that I could just bin it. That is one bonus of having the resident remain in the property when we are cleaning, is that we can check if something is to be binned or if something is important if it's not obvious to us. The resident had quite a lot of bags of medication in this room, and so what you see me doing here is going through those bags, and if there were any empty packets I was putting them in the bin. However, I was keeping any packets that even had just one pill in them. I wasn't going through the expiration dates, and I wasn't really even reading the labels of the medication because I didn't want to invade her privacy. So all I did was binned any empty packets, and the rest of the medication I put together in a bag for the resident to go through. Here I have an empty bag, and so all the little snacks that I found lying around I was able to collect together and put into this bag for her. During the time that I was in this property, the resident had been on many different phone calls to friends, and she even had a visitor come in. And that visitor, I'm not sure if it was a friend or a relative, but he actually washed some of her dishes while I was here as well. So it was nice for me to see that although the resident was housebound, she wasn't as isolated as she could have been, as she did have friends that she was able to talk to and that visited her, which was just really lovely to see. I seem to have problems with vacuum cleaners in every single home that I go into. So in this case, this was a really nice light vacuum cleaner. However, it wasn't picking up at all. And when I looked into it, it turns out it was completely full. The airways were blocked, so I had to empty that out before I could move on. I did find that by this point in the day as well, my back was really sore, and so when I was trying to vacuum, it was quite difficult for me. And I just seem to be cursed when it comes to vacuum cleaners in other people's homes. You probably keep seeing me wiping my forehead, and it was because this house was an absolute sauna. It was so hot, and the resident had told me that I was welcome to open the windows, but honestly, it did not even make that much difference. I also probably didn't take enough breaks during this and drink enough water because I felt really dehydrated by the end of it. So I really need to remember and take a water bottle with me when I go to these houses. So when I was putting the belongings back, I kind of had paperwork and beauty supplies and snacks all in that corner near where she was sitting. And then on the other corner, which is close to the camera, it was kind of items that looked like they were gifts for other people perhaps. There was a couple of teddies and gift sets and things in cellophane wrapping, that kind of thing. We are coming to the end of the video now, so enjoy the before and after photos, and if you like this kind of content, please do subscribe.